Hi and welcome to the latest episode of Clarity Presents. Today we're joined by Sophie Lemm, who's the head of the key account team for Travelodge. Today we're going to be talking about comfort and efficiency, how travellers can have a comfortable experience but still remain cost effective for the travel managers and procurement. So Sophie, hi, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. So what I want to discuss first is this relationship between comfort and efficiency. So what's your experience of this? Are the two completely separate or can they be aligned?
I think this concept has completely changed perhaps over the last even five years. I think comfort traditionally may have been perceived as a 4-star, 5-star proposition and meant swimming pools and Japanese restaurants which you never used, or certain elements that gave this badge of, oh, this is comfort, and with that came the price tag.
Yeah.
So there was a discrepancy really between, perhaps what the guests would want to stay in and perhaps what procurement the travel manager would like to see on the balance sheet. But I think over the last years, maybe gone are those luxury times of staying in those properties and paying for something which you didn't actually particularly use. So I think moving forward, and there's clearly a change of the business traveller perhaps looking to use the budget brand, whether that may be looking at reducing costs or just a change in policy. And from our perspective, it's to say, listen, even if you do reduce the amount that you spend, it doesn't have to impact on the comfort.
Yes.
And I guess it's that definition of comfort. People have got different ideas of what that means to them, but I think certainly from perhaps the research that we've done, surveys and questionnaires around, what business travellers are looking for, it's things like cleanliness and a good night's sleep. And the budget sector can absolutely provide that, but also from a spend perspective, be in line with policy. And it's very much a case of, if the end user has a great stay, great night's sleep, they're more likely to choose that brand, whether it be there again or a different location, and has that loyalty, which again will be pleasing to the travel manager and because they're staying in policy, they're not booking outside of that.
Yeah. Okay, because that's quite interesting. That's one thing when we've been looking at a more traveller-centric programme and looking at this focus on comfort, is the worry then that will push people outside of policy, either within costs or booking independently and not going through their TMC. But it doesn't sound like that necessarily has to be the case, that there can still be a focus on comfort, but that doesn't have to increase costs.
Yeah, absolutely. And certainly from the Travelodge perspective, we've listened to what our base of travellers require, and that base has changed. That demographic has certainly changed. So we now have more business travellers that stay within the Travelodge hotels than we do leisure.
Right.
As a result of this, we've needed to adapt and evolve to fit those requirements. But also we need to stay true to our core pillars, which are the price, location and the quality. So the price for us is very important. It is a differentiator. We need to be the cheapest within the market. However, we need to balance that with giving the guest the things that they need. So we have definitely changed in line with the moving landscape of the guest.
That's interesting, and looking at that moving landscape and the business traveller. So what have you found in the research that you've done are the main drivers for the business traveller? You mentioned cleanliness and a good night's sleep. Is there anything else that is really driving business travel in terms of the accommodation that they're likely to choose?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in addition to those, what we might consider basics, but are sort of very important, the good night's sleep, if you've stepped off a plane or you've got a big meeting, it is very important. But then there are other elements which we've gleaned from feedback. We've done a lot of extensive research and surveys, and people would like a larger working space, because we've got laptops and papers, etc. So we've increased the size of the desks. USB ports. The amount of devices we have now is crazy. So mobile phones and laptops and tablets. So people forget chargers all the time. So to have those USBs. really important, and that's actually transcended through to our bar cafes as well. So we have counters now with the USB ports that allows people to be able to work. People just don't want to be in their bedroom all the time. They might want a change of scenery. So I guess collecting all of that information together, out of that was born the super room concept.
Yes.
So that was launched in 2017. We worked, which might surprise people really, being in the budget sector, but we worked with a luxury travel design agency called Honor, who had actually worked on the Etihad and BA business lounges. Right. To provide a more serene sort of decor, we looked at mood lighting, blackout curtains, a choice of pillows. So the super room concept, if you like, is now growing. So we have 33 hotels where this concept has been rolled out. Okay. And to bring it back in terms of does that affect the outpricing?
Yeah, the cost, yeah.
The uplift would be between £10 to £20.
Right.
So for all the added amenities that you have, will still probably be the cheapest within the market, or certainly to the closest competitor. So we are keen to provide what is needed, but still conscious that we stick to our core, that the price is the best.
Well, that's it. And I think, for that extra £10, £20, if I could work more effectively, be more refreshed, have to pack less things, the whole experience then, which is something that we've touched on in previous episodes of Clarity Presents, how that traveller experience is so important, in reducing churn, in increasing productivity. So it sounds like you've really taken on board all of that traveller centricity, but still with a very clear focus and mind on the cost.
Yes.
Which is great.
Yeah, the price is absolutely a differentiator for us, but with that has to come the quality, which is why we have our metrics, certainly from a TripAdvisor point of view, to deliver that consistency. 430 of the properties now are a 4 or higher on TripAdvisor. And so that's really important for us to deliver that message. People may have a perception of Travelodge from yesteryear. It is no longer, just the roadside hotels. We have come a long way, but it's just being able to instill confidence that good night's sleep, absolutely, but the cleanliness and consistency is key.
Absolutely. And I think when you are a business sending your travellers away, there is obviously a duty of care that you have to those travellers to ensure that they have a safe journey and a comfortable journey. So it does really sound like, you've managed to bridge that gap between comfort and efficiency. So in terms of accommodation, when you've talked about all these new introductions, the USB ports for one, where do you think accommodation, and more importantly business accommodation, is going? What are the trends that you're seeing and the requirements that you're hearing of?
I think the comfort and the basics of what the business traveller requires, I don't think will change. I think certainly for the budget sector, it's very clear about what they are looking for when they choose, say, a Travelodge property. I think it might arguably be a higher impact, say, to the mid-market sector, right, whereby they're looking for the next thing, the technology and the keyless card entry, the apps, technology-led, which will require investment, which will require money, which they need to get back somehow. And I think that's where the prices may rise as a result of trying to provide this perceived comfort, is from some of the additional items. Again, are they required? How much does it enhance the guest experience? So I think from our point of view, we continue to listen and continue to trial the new Travelodge Plus, for example, 6 new Travelodge Plus properties, which have 3 components of the super rooms, the new bar cafe concept, and the new core bedrooms. That for us is the future and how we would, like to move forward. But even doing trials with Itsu for our non-bar cafe properties, offering guests something if they haven't got something right there on site. So Travelodge very much listens, has a think outside the box of how we might be able to implement that, and then looks at how that's received.
Excellent. Thank you. That has been so interesting to get a real deep insight into Travelodge and what you were saying, especially about keeping to those pillars and how you want to evolve, which is great, and you clearly are doing, yet sticking and staying true to your brand, which is great to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate your time.
Great to talk to you.
Thank you. In our next episode, we'll be joined by Darren Williams, who's Clarity's Head of Management Information and Data. We look forward to you joining us then.